Our News from the Hill story. Biden's pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, California Attorney General Xavier Becerra, is preparing for his confirmation hearing tomorrow. To be sure, Becerra is not exactly qualified for this role if you look at his relevant lack of experience in both healthcare and management and his role in California's pandemic response or failed response. In addition to his questionable qualifications, he subscribes to policies that are too radical for even some Democrats, such as Medicare for All. Plus, he's a bully, just like Biden. Just ask the Little Sisters of the Poor. They're a congregation of Catholic nuns who serve the elderly. Becerra sought legal action against the group based on their refusal to comply with Obamacare's 2011 HHS mandate, which required employer-provided health plans to cover contraceptions. The sisters objected to the mandate because it violated their deeply held religious convictions. And even though 1/3 of employer-provided plans are exempt from the contraception mandate, including the world's largest employer, the U.S. military, Becerra still chose to target the nuns. In 2016, the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously in favor of the Little Sisters of the Poor, yet Becerra has not backed down and related litigation is still ongoing. With me now to discuss is the Heritage Action's Vice President of Government Relations, Garrett Bess. Welcome back, Garrett.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Great. So a coalition of more than 60 pro-life leaders sent a joint letter today to Congress asking them to reconsider Becerra's nomination. Talk to me about why so many in the pro-life community oppose his nomination to lead HHS.
Well, Xavier Becerra has been a radical abortion agenda rights advocate for really his entire career since 1990 when he first ran for state government through his time as Attorney General in California. He's built his political career on the backs of aborted unborn children.
And when we look into his background a little bit more, we see when he was in Congress, he voted against the Hyde Amendment, which keeps taxpayer dollars from going toward abortion. He also, as we were discussing, went after the Little Sisters of the Poor, who did not want to pay for contraceptives. They did not want to pay for pills that could cause abortions as well. He is in favor of socialized medicine, obviously, with Obamacare being a step down that road. Talk to me more about his policies and if this is what we can expect from the Biden administration now moving forward.
Yeah, well, Xavier Becerra, as you mentioned, one of the most egregious examples of his overreach as Attorney General was suing Catholic nuns to basically force them to violate their religious views on abortion. Now, Americans have all kinds of views across the spectrum on abortion, but generally speaking, they don't necessarily agree in large numbers with forcing those views on other people, that particularly people of religious views that are different than their own. The other thing, like you mentioned, the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment is sort of a universally accepted ban on taxpayer funding of abortion. Again, Americans have views on abortion that differ than mine and perhaps some of your listeners, but they almost universally agree with the fact that American taxpayers should not have to fund things such as abortion. Xavier Becerra believes that not only should abortion be legal to the maximum extent allowed, but also that taxpayers should be forced to fund those things. And guess what? If you have a religious belief that, like the nuns did in California, that disagrees with that, he's going to stomp all over you in court.
And if he were to lead HHS, what kind of powers would he have to be able to enact some of these changes, especially regarding abortion?
Yeah, well, HHS is one of the largest departments in the federal government. It runs such programs as Medicare, Medicaid, children's health insurance. And so baked within all of that federal spending are enormous powers. One of the single biggest sources of funding for Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, is actually Medicaid funding. Money is fungible, and many states basically abuse the Medicaid funding streams to ensure that Planned Parenthood gets made whole for providing abortions to low-income women. And you can just imagine that if those types of views were to go national with the Xavier Becerra as Secretary of HHS, what that would mean for those of us who believe in the right to life for unborn children.
A lot of conservative groups are now pouring money into ads opposing Becerra's nomination. And while it looks like Democrats will most likely have the votes needed to confirm Becerra, but a lot of Republicans are now looking ahead to 2022. And Democrats who vote in favor of Becerra, perhaps that may come back to bite some of them in the upcoming midterms in 2022, especially more in Democrats from more red states and red areas. Do you see that being a problem for some of these Democrats from moderate areas?
Yeah, for sure. And this fight is not over. Matter of fact, 5 minutes before I got on the call here with you, we were having a conversation where the votes are not there quite yet for Becerra. And so there's an opportunity still to have an impact, particularly if you live in a state like Georgia or Arizona, or you're represented by a senator such as Manchin in West Virginia. You should call those senators and let them know that you oppose them voting for confirmation of Secretary Becerra. You can go more information off our website, heritageaction.com, but make those calls. It will definitely have an impact on particularly these senators such as Warnock, who just went through a bruising election in Georgia, who's going to be back on the ballot in 2022.
And what are you hearing, if at all, from some of the senators who may be kind of wobbling there, not quite sure if they want to go forward and confirm Becerra?
Well, one thing that you have to understand about D.C. politicians is many times they're looking for a way to vote yes on these types of things. The only way that you can sort of override that propensity for voting yes is to make sure that the political pain is so great that they actually listen to the people. And so one of the best ways to do that, and a lot of people are skeptical of this, but I've worked in several congressional offices, and I can tell you, if their phone lines light up from an overwhelming number of their constituents, they will listen. They still may do the wrong thing in the process, but you have at least made the mark on their office, and you let them know that you're paying attention to what they're doing.
It does give me more hope, at least looking forward to these next 4 years under Biden, because here we are still so close to what the inauguration was. So 4 years, a long time. And one thing I can't get out of my head is here we have Xavier Becerra, HHS. He's from California. Kamala Harris, California as well. Nancy Pelosi, California. Adam Schiff, Maxine Waters. I think you can see the pattern here is that in many ways, many people here in California, we feel like we're in some ways a failed state. And here Biden is picking a lot of his top representatives straight from California and the cesspool here. So very concerning what we're seeing now, bringing California's problems now nationwide. But Garrett Bess, always a pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks so much.